This RPG was originally created 30 years ago, and in an updated 1994 rulebook, we find this stunningly pinpoint prophecy about life in 2020. Diversity and unity. It is now accepted among historical scholars that in the decades before the collapse, America suffered from the sickness of racism and cultural identity. Everyone wanted to be seen as special. Every group had to be equal to or preferably better than its neighbors and fought to protect its special rights. If anyone had something that someone else wanted, they were painted as racist, sexist, elitist, or worse. This divisive me-first attitude eventually tore the fabric of American culture apart and caused it to self-destruct in a fireball of competing ideologies, none of which truly recognized each other's validity. Diversity led inexorably to anarchy. Wow, I guess the designers of Cyberpunk 2020 must have been racists.
I'm here to tell you, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you want to bring down world government. We're getting real close. Hillary Clinton tweeted out last night about Trump's event. She said she can handle it, blessed with stamina, and thankfully I didn't stay up late last night watching InfoWars, what she meant by Trump's re-election launch. That was a gigantic extravaganza. Woo! They are pissed. I'll show you next segment, or maybe now. Nobody's coming to their events, maybe a couple thousand, even when the tickets are free. Nobody's going to their Clinton play that they have in New York that the whole media has been pushing and promoting on Broadway. That's been canceled a month early. Nobody, ladies and gentlemen, nobody likes Hillary. Nobody's visiting with her. Nobody's covering what Biden does. Biden might get 200, 300 people out. They're so scared. And so she sees Trump, ladies and gentlemen, and what happened last night as so incredibly scary. And she accurately knows that it's InfoWars. We have a clip in there where CNN pulls out and cuts the feed because they're chanting CNN sucks. And they don't know what to do. Isn't that just beautiful? Now, Paul Watson did a report. We're going to go ahead and roll right now. We'll talk about it after the break. The eerily accurate predictions of Cyberpunk. Here it is.
Cyberpunk 2020 was a 1988 tabletop role-playing game, the second version of which was set in a fictional 2020. The game takes place in a dystopian future where multiculturalism has failed and America is, quote, divided by class, race, and economics. The main themes of the game pertain to futuristic transport, weaponry, and transhumanism, but it's the cultural and sociological tropes featured in the game that make some of its predictions eerily prescient. Again, to emphasize, this RPG was originally created 30 years ago, and in an updated 1994 rulebook, we find this stunningly pinpoint prophecy about life in 2020. Diversity and unity. It is now accepted among historical scholars that in the decades before the collapse, America suffered from the sickness of racism and cultural identity. Everyone wanted to be seen as special. Every group had to be equal to or preferably better than its neighbors and fought to protect its special rights. If anyone had something that someone else wanted, they were painted as racist, sexist, elitist, or worse. This divisive me-first attitude eventually tore the fabric of American culture apart and caused it to self-destruct in a fireball of competing ideologies, none of which truly recognized each other's validity. Diversity led inexorably to anarchy. Wow, I guess the designers of Cyberpunk 2020 must have been racists. Yeah, actually it was created by this based black dude. But anyone who has followed modernity's obsession with identity politics and the sanctification of victimhood as a form of special status exploited to impose political and cultural hegemony. That's a creepily prophetic observation given that it was made nearly 3 decades ago. But that wasn't the only prediction that Cyberpunk 2020 got bang on the money. The game's 1988 rulebook predicted, quote, a Great Britain swamped by mass immigration, leading to streets almost explosively as dangerous as the United States. That kind of rings a bell.
A wave of stabbings have given London a higher murder rate than New York City.
Every 14 minutes, there's a knife crime across England and Wales.
Knife crime is at a near record high, with more than 40 blade offences every day in London.
If your child is involved in a gang and there's nowhere for him to hide, you take him back to Africa. You know, it's safer there than it is in London.
When you're a parent sending your child back, it's a risk you're taking, but unfortunately, some parents feel like it's also a risk leaving their kids in the streets of London.
Diversity is a strength.
The game also predicted the rise of the, quote, me-first worldview, which is now exemplified by exploding narcissism driven by social media addiction. The RPG also foresaw a future in which, quote, entertainment has become generic and a conglomeration of TV networks emerged to deliver hundreds of channels that produce a product which is, quote, bland, mindless, and caters to the lowest possible denominator. That kind of rings a bell too. In a successful attempt to distract the population from the dystopia that surrounds them. In the game, the so-called media nets ensure that every apartment has access to this idiocracy-style mass entertainment. The game also predicted the decline of traditional media platforms, with old-fashioned newspapers and print magazines fading into oblivion. The original Cyberpunk game was inspired by a 1986 sci-fi novel called Hardwired. In Hardwired, and by extension Cyberpunk, ruthless corporations have created vast monopolies, have amassed more power than countries, and everyone is completely dependent on them. According to Cyberpunk's 1988 rulebook, in 2020, quote, dissenting opinions and independent productions are usually buried under an avalanche of media hype, or worse, co-opted or destroyed by the vicious competitive practices of the major media corps. That definitely reminds me of something, just can't quite put my finger on it.
Imagine this for a second. One man with total control of billions of people's stolen data, all their secrets, their lives, their futures. I owe it all to Spectre. Spectre showed me that whoever controls the data controls the future.
But at least it's not that bad yet, right? We can still express dissenting opinions without being silenced by megacorps. At least when someone tried to post about Cyberpunk 2020 on Reddit under the title, in the original Cyberpunk 2020 rulebook, diversity was the downfall of America. The post wasn't immediately removed, right? Oh. It was immediately removed. A big Cyberpunk 2020 theme is augmentation of the body with cyber technology, which in turn causes an ensuing loss of humanity as the characters become more synthetic, which was another adept example of prescient social commentary on our increasing addiction to smartphones and the wider body modification transhumanist movement.
The Stockholm subway system also has plans to modify their turnstiles so they can be opened with implanted chips. Over 3,500 Swedes now have microchips under their skin.
You got the chip?
According to the 1988 rulebook, quote, as each new technological enhancement slammed into place, a sort of cultural techno-shock set in. In a 2006 update to the game called Cyberpunk 23X, corruption of the internet has made, quote, all data intangible and recent recorded history is in doubt. Again, this speaks to the contemporary lurch towards internet censorship and digital book burning, in addition to fears over fake news. This update also accurately predicted the rise of deepfake technology, misleading people about the nature of reality, and the power of memes to influence culture and society. Cyberpunk 2077, a new video game starring Keanu Reeves based on the original R.P.G, is set to be released next year. In the game, the metropolis of Night City is divided up into 6 different regions. One is the domain of elitists, another of criminal gangs, and another of immigrants. In other words, diversity and integration appears to have failed. Segregation is a way of life. And nearly a year before the game is even released, we're already seeing a progressive backlash to Cyberpunk 2077. In this tweet, a leftist expresses his outrage at a certain level of disgust expressed by characters in the game to the sight of a heavily technologically augmented naked woman in a bathtub.
We all know the importance of fish oils. While we are sure to provide them for ourselves, it's just as important to make sure your kids get their EPA and DHA too. Honor Roll is a powerful DHA fish oil formula for your child. Built from the ground up to support your child's development, this formula uses wild anchovy fish oil, ultra-purified krill oil, and wild salmon fish oil with vitamins to boost your child's mind and body. With this fish oil formula, you can support your child's optimal heart, joint, cognitive, and brain health while providing DHA, which has been shown to be essential for your child's brain growth spurts. Built on powerful ingredients with 580 milligrams of high DHA omega-3s, this formula is highly refined to eliminate nearly all heavy metals. If you're looking for a formula to help your child grow, look no further. Try Honor Roll from InfoWars Life at InfoWarsStore.com.